50
Hey guys,
eruptions having occurred.
it's me playing Soldiers Gaming, and today me and my friend Wusong is here, or we're going to be reacting to top 10 dangerous places on the world, so let's go.
Since Mount Vesuvius' most notable eruption, you know, the one that buried the ancient cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum, people still insist on building lives in the shadow of this massive volcano on Italy's west coast. The modern city of Naples, Napoli in Italy, lies at the foot of the mountain, and while around 1 million people live there, an eruption which is now overdue could necessitate the evacuation of many more from the city and surrounding areas.
So dumb.
3,000 miles east of Moscow lies this, the oldest city inside the Arctic Circle. Despite the endless winters, 1,500 people live in the city and lays claim, unsurprisingly enough, to being the coldest city in the world. The lowest temperature ever recorded in Volkoyansk was minus 90 Fahrenheit in the late 19th century, but the average temperature in winter isn't much better, with temperatures regularly dropping to minus 60 degrees.
What?
Once a bountiful and fertile area, Minqing County in the northeast of the Gansu province in China is now one of the most bleak areas in Asia. A 10-year-old drought and a diversion of the Xiang River has seen the two deserts which border the county swallow more than 100 square miles of land. The region is rapidly being given back to the desert despite an influx of people moving to the region. And as a result, the government have begun resettling farmers who have seen their land disappear from 360 square miles to around 50. Underneath Lake Nyos in Cameroon lies an incredibly dangerous secret. A pocket of magma lying deep below the bed of the lake is constantly leaking carbon dioxide into the water. Under the pressure of water, the CO2 remains in a dissolved state. But in 1986, the water was suddenly turned over and the gas was depressurized, exploding upward like a shaken bottle of soda.
Wow.
The cloud of CO2 rushed downhill and choked almost 1,700 people and thousands of livestock. Today, the authorities use pipes to siphon off the CO2-enriched water from the bottom of the lake with the intention of stopping the same thing happening again. But that doesn't make Lake Nyos safe. I mean, still, it's far from it. One of the United States' most recognized tourist attractions,
You're gonna die there.
the Grand Canyon may not seem like a particularly dangerous formation, due in no small part to the impossibility of making the location safe. All it takes is one wrong step.
Wow.
Spring is a rejuvenating time for most people as the chill of winter moves on and brings with it new life and, most importantly, the sun. However, for the people of the Interstate 44 corridor between Oklahoma City and Tulsa, commonly known as Tornado Alley, it's now twister season. Every year, cold air from the Rocky Mountains meets warm air from the Gulf Coast and forms these kind of terrifying twisters. Between 1950 and 2006, 69 tornadoes spun their way across Tulsa County, which proved fatal for many.
You're dead, man.
causing their
That's not
passengers
even-
millions of
No,
dollars
you're the last
worth of
survivor.
damage.
Oh my gosh.
Hurricanes, earthquakes, and mudslides, an all too common occurrence in Central America. You could be forgiven for thinking that the people of Guatemala might not be too keen on their country. Guatemala has suffered from all of these disasters in the last 40 years alone. In 1976,
These people are really bad at
7.5
picking
magnitude quake
places to
killed
live.
23,000
places to live.
Guatemalans, and as a result of Hurricane Stan, there were more than 900 massive mudslides in 2005, which caused one village to be declared a cemetery after authorities were unable to rescue the 300 villagers who were buried. In terms of natural disasters, you hear much less of the scourge of drought and other disasters which sound better and better, on the news. It's the sad reality of media. In spite of that, more than 100,000 people died over a 12-year period in the Sahel Belt, which stretches across northern Africa through Mauritania, Senegal, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, Chad, Sudan, Algeria, Ethiopia,
don't think so.
and Eritrea. In addition to those who died, the famine left almost 1 million farmers unable to develop their own crops and were left dependent on UN food aid.
Sucks for you. Just
As a
kidding.
nation, Haiti has suffered more from the effects of natural disasters than most. The storm of September 2008 killed nearly
That's a
500
flood
people
in
in the
a
city of
house.
Gonaives, which was almost washed out to sea by the storms. However, in 2004, Hurricane Gian blew through the city and the country, killing thousands of Haitians and largely destroying the city. With Haiti lying in the cyclone-prone Caribbean
That's
and
really scary.
Grenada sitting in the floodplain, prone to washing out when there is a swell in the local rivers, it makes the city one of the most dangerous places to live in the world. When Mohamed Nasheed took office in 2008, the country's first democratically elected president made it his business to fund the
It's on an
relocation of the
island.
entire population of the islands. Although this might sound like a ridiculous idea, it actually has much more to it than you might think. At its highest point, the elevation of the Confederation of 1,190 islands is just over 6 feet, meaning that at some point in the very near future, the entire country is going to be swallowed by the sea.
What?
Both India and Sri Lanka have been suggested as possible locations for the 360,000 residents.
If I lived there, I'd be like, I'm outie. I'd be like, I'm flying a plane. Okay, I'll watch this too, since this is short video.
10 times the world nearly ended.
Huh?
Number 10. The BMEWS communication failure. On the 24th of November 1961, the world came close to a nuclear end thanks to a broken comms system. The USA's Strategic Air Command Headquarters, or SAC, was unable to make contact with 3 missile sites. Taking the lack of communication as a sign of an enemy attack, the SAC began preparing bomber crews to take to their planes. All-out war with Russia seemed imminent, until contact with an orbiting B-52 was made and the pilot confirmed no attack had taken place. Turns out the relay station used by SAC had broken down after overheating.
Oh. Wow, that's close.
Oh yeah.
Mount Tambora erupts. 88,000 people died when Indonesia's Mount Tambora
Dang.
erupted in 1815.
Holy.
Spewing out 175
Woo.
cubic kilometers of dust and rock, it set off a domino effect
See
of
that?
disasters from deadly whirlwinds to
Oh.
4.6-meter high tsunamis.
Whoa.
Traces of the
I'm
ash were
out.
discovered 1,300 kilometers away, and the eruption chilled huge parts of the world, causing a famine in North America and epidemics across Europe.
You gave us a famine?
Cooling of
Bro.
the Earth's temperature led 1816 to go down in history as the year without a summer. Number 8. The Carrington Event. In 1859, the biggest solar flare in recorded history emitted radiation with the energy of 10 billion atomic bombs and led to a geomagnetic storm which set fire to electrical technology on Earth. Scientists estimate that if a similar event occurred today, it could prove catastrophic due to our dependence on technology. Electrical grids would go into meltdown and our methods of communication would be non-existent. NASA have reported flares like this should happen every 150 years, making us overdue for the next one. And with an estimated time of just 20 hours between the moment of detection to impact, humanity would have less than a day to prepare for catastrophe.
Oh.
Wow.
Fire
Number
keeps
7.
on coming in.
The Norwegian rocket incident.
Oh, wow.
In the 1990s, US scientists studying the Northern Lights launched a research rocket from Norway.
Of
And
course.
Russian radars interpreted it as a nuclear attack. With
Oh
all
my.
the response mechanisms still in place, President Yeltsin was given 8 minutes to decide whether to launch a counterattack or not. Luckily, the Norwegian rocket harmlessly fell into the ocean before he made up his mind. To make matters worse, they had actually received a memo informing them of the rocket launch, but it was lost before it reached radar crews.
Of course. Oh, freaking
Number
course.
6. The Black Death.
What?
The 14th century plague that travelled on flea-ridden rats left 75 million people dead.
What?
Able to kill in just 3 days, victims became feverish and their lymph nodes painfully swelled until they burst. If a similar epidemic occurred today, events could be even more catastrophic thanks to the increase in global movement. With over
My
8
dog's
million
dying.
people flying every day, a virus would be difficult to contain. Number 5. The Bonilla Comet. In 1883, the astronomer Jose Bonilla recorded 450 objects passing in front of the Sun. Largely ignored by scientific circles, the event was soon forgotten. However, in 2011, a researcher investigating Bonilla's findings discovered the terrifying truth behind his observations. It turns out these objects were huge fragments left behind following the breakup of a 1 billion-ton comet that skimmed the Earth,
Whoa.
potentially by just 600 kilometers.
With each of these pieces of debris measuring up to 800 meters wide, a collision from just one would have resulted in a disaster 1,000 times more powerful than an atomic bomb.
Whoa. Yeah, we would have been dead.
Spanish flu. 1918 saw the worst flu pandemic in history, with 1/3 of the population infected and an estimated 50 million killed.
What?
Killing within hours of the first symptoms, the virus filled the lungs with liquid, suffocating the victims. In 2014, scientists controversially recreated the flu, infecting ferrets with a virus 97% identical to the 1918 strain. They found that with just a small mutation, the virus was easily spread between the animals, confirming that if the virus struck humanity again, it would spread like wildfire once more. Number 3.
Only one of them
Klebsiella
happened.
planticola. In the 1990s, a biological monster that could have killed all terrestrial plant life came terrifyingly close to being released.
What?
Bio-researchers combined the bacteria Klebsiella planticola with another bacteria which
A
produced
monster?
alcohol in order to
No,
create a GMO that would destroy land waste while producing a sellable product. Seeming too good to be true, it was swiftly approved for field testing. However, critics noticed that the researchers had failed to test the GMO on unsterile soil and decided to run independent tests. They found that in the real world, the alcohol created would obliterate host plants in just 1 week. If the field
Whoa.
testing hadn't been cancelled due to these extra lab tests, the bacteria could have spread across the globe, destroying all of our crops and plunging humanity into a mass famine.
Thank goodness. Some noobs.
The Cuban Missile Crisis.
Oh, wow.
When America launched a naval blockade to prevent the Soviet Union from building nuclear bases in Cuba, Soviet leader Khrushchev declared the move as an act of war. For 13 days in 1962, all-out nuclear warfare seemed imminent, with both sides prepared for an enemy attack. US bombers carrying nukes were launched, preparations to invade Cuba were made, and it was even suggested that Kennedy flee to an underground bunker. The widespread panic eventually came to an end when Russia agreed to dismantle the Cuban bases, while the US promised to remove the blockade and their own nuclear base in Turkey.
Good.
Number 1. Nuclear false alarm. In 1983,
Molev!
the Soviet early warning system, Stanislav Petrov received computer warnings that 5 US missiles had been launched. Expected to report incoming attacks to his seniors, if he had done so, Russia would certainly have launched retaliatory weapons and plunged us into all-out nuclear warfare. Instead, with no evidence to back him up, he decided to report the readings as false. He was right to follow his gut instinct, as it turns out the alert had been triggered when Soviet satellites misinterpreted reflected sunlight for a ballistic missile.
Freaking noobs. Okay, that's the end of this video. Comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video. Twisms.